Hey, why so frail here? The first thing that we're going to be doing in this tutorial is we're going to be modeling our hat. And to start everything off, we're going to create a directory where we can keep our project files. Mine is in local disk C, TF2 items, and we're going to make a hat. So I'm going to call mine demo baseball cap. Perfect. So here's 3ds Max, and we want to make sure that our import-export SMD works correctly. As you can see, I have an export for source SMD. If you see for import, source SMD. So my plugins are working properly. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a sphere, which is going to be the cap of the hat. And we are going to create a box that completely surrounds the outside perimeter. And you can press F to go into front mode, and you can press Z to zoom in on any object. So we're going to go to our front perspective. And we want to cut off this bottom portion of the sphere, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually use a modifier, or not a modifier, but we're going to change the geometry. So let's go to the box properties, and we are going to completely cut off this bottom portion of the sphere. So wherever the box is, we're going to cut that off, cut that out of the sphere. So now we are going to go back to perspective mode, which is P, and we are going to go to geometry, compound objects, boolean, and you want to have the sphere selected when you start the boolean operation. So pick operand B and click on the box that we just created. And if you look, everything, everywhere the box was is now cut out of the sphere. So this is going to be the basis of our hat. And we're not going to do anything more to this. So now we are going to go back to standard primitives, and we are going to create the bill of our hat. So press T to go to the top view, Z to zoom in, and kind of just, don't get too perfect with this, because as you can tell, this is a very basic, ugly looking hat already. You can press F3 to go into wireframe mode, and we are going to add some length and width segments. Looks good. And we are going to, and again, we are going to select the bill. Actually, let's name all of these. I'm sorry. So bill, cap, and we are going to select the bill, and we are going to press T to go to top, Z to zoom, and we are going to add a edit poly modifier to this. So modifier list, edit poly. And the reason that we don't just right-click the object and go to Convert Editable Poly is because by adding a Edit Poly modifier, we can preserve our original box perimeters. So we can come back at any time and we can change our length segments, our width segments, our height segments, as if our length, width, and height. We can change absolutely everything. Alright, sorry about that, I'm back now. Alright, so we are going to round the tip of the bill. Just kind of go pretty vague. See, this is exactly why I said we are going to preserve the original properties. It's because I actually need one more segment. Oops. We're going to have to actually go all the way back. which is okay with me. There we go. Grab all these faces, pull them out. Not faces, vertexes. Looks good. And a good tool to use is scale. We can kind of just round the tip fairly easy that way. And we are going to press P to go to perspective mode again. Press F3 to get out of wireframe mode. And I'm actually content with that. I'm going to leave it as is. Okay. So now we are going to create a UVW map for both of these. So with the bill selected, we are going to select every face. And we are going to go to Unwrap UVW. As you can see, this says Quick Peel. And we're going to click on the Scale tool, and we're going to scale this down and fit this within this perimeter right here, this small little box. And as you can see, that doesn't look very pretty, but they pretty much have it lined out for us, and I'm actually happy with that. So we're going to go to our root directory that we just created. So mine is in C, TF2 items, hats, demo baseball cap. I'm going to call this Bill UVW. And the reason I saved my UVW is because I've rendered my UV template, went to Photoshop, finished that, went to come back to bring it back into 3ds Max, and my UV coordinates are gone. So it's always good to be safe. And we're going to render a map that's 512 by 512. So always make sure that you are changing these either to 256 by 256 or 512 by 512. We're going to save these as PNG files. So Bill UVW. Close out of that and that. And now we are ready to add a UV. Actually, we have to add a edit poly modifier. Select all the faces. Unwrap UVW. And as you can see, it already wants to slice it right down there. Sorry about that, my throat's kind of got a cold. And we are going to, perfect, scale it down so it fits within our margin. We're going to save our UVWs, so we're going to call this cap UVW. Tools, render UVW template, 512 by 512. And as you can see, the bottom of our cap is actually right here. But that's a face that we're not even really going to see or deal with, so. Alright, we're going to save it as a PNG file again. Close out of that and that. So now our hat is finished. Well, just about. Now we get to open up Photoshop. And hats. Baseball cap. And I'm going to grab these PNGs and I'm going to drag them directly into Photoshop. And we're going to want to create a layer underneath both of these. And just going to save it. So that is the cap of the hat. And theoretically I could use the same image and just name it as two different things, but I'm doing this to show you how to edit two different ones. Whoops, that's not what we want to do. We want to save this as a targa or a TGA file. So we're going to call it cap UVW 32 pixels. Whoops. Create a layer underneath. Hide it. Save as. Targa. Bill UVW dot targa or TGA 32 pixels. And we can close out of Photoshop completely now. And as you can see, these two files that we just created are they say PSD, but they are actually our targa files. And now we are ready to apply those textures that we just created. So let's select the bill of our hat, press M to go to the material editor, right click, materials, standard, double click on this, and you see this diffuse box right here? There's a box right here that says none when you when you hover over it. Click on that, go to bitmap, go to our directory that we created for our item, and we have the bill selected in the 3D model, or we have it selected. So here we have the bill selected. We are going to show shaded material in viewport, which is that, and we are going to assign material to selection. Because we have the bill selected, we want to assign it to the selection. So now we're going to select the cap of the hat, and we are going to create yet another material. So right click, materials, standard, double click, click on diffuse, bitmap, cap UVW, targa file, and we are going to show shaded material in viewport and assign material to selection. Remember, it will assign this material to anything that you have selected. So now our hat is completely textured, ready to export. But first what we're going to do is we are going to import our player reference SMD file. And the only way you can do this is if you have Source SDK installed and at least run once. So I'm going to locate my Steam directory. So program files, Steam, Steam apps, user ID, source SDK underscore content, TF, model source, player, and I'm going to be using the demo, parts, SMD, demo underscore model.smd. And we're going to hit OK. And we're going to import them. Everything imported correctly. So with our player reference model selected, we are going to right click it. We are going to clone it as a copy, just so that if we ever need to refer back to it, all we have to do is unhide it. So we are going to hide selection, and now we can move our hat over and we can scale it and put it on the demo's head. So turn angle snap toggle on, and we're going to rotate 90 degrees, and we're going to scale it down. Alright, looks good to me. Just about. And the thing that sucks about the demo reference SMD is within the mesh, they do not allow you to remove the hat, so that when you plug it in game, you have to account for that hat because the hat is removed in game. And I'll show you a little closer what I mean. So we are going to group this, copy the Z coordinates, drag it up, and what I'm talking about is we can't remove the hat from the mesh is, as you can see, the cap of the hat is, or the demo's hat is actually connected to the mesh, so you can't physically just remove it. Alright, so we can start by, and what I just did was I copied the Z coordinates, remember, and I just pasted them in. And the only way you can do that is if you have them grouped. So I grouped them, and now I'm going to ungroup them, and I'm going to delete every bone except for BIP underscore head, which is this bone right here. I had a feeling there was, so we're going to group them, copy the Z coordinates, we're going to delete that bone, paste back in the coordinates, ungroup it, and we are going to select the cap of the hat, select and link. We're going to click the cap of the hat, and we are going to click on the BIP underscore head. We're going to click out, and we're going to click on the bill. Click on the bill again, and drag it to the bone. And if you did this correctly, you can actually pick up the bone and it'll pick up the hat. There we go, that's perfect. As if you picked up the hat itself, it doesn't move. So just to make sure this is where it should be, which it's not, which is why I checked. Let's just make sure. Let's unhide all. Perfect. Okay. So now we are ready to export our models. So we are going to go to export, go to our directory. Mine is C, TF2 underscore items, hats, demo underscore baseball cap. Select source SMD. We're going to call this one lot 0 because item test actually calls for two completely different models and they have to differ in poly size. So since the thing that has the most details on our hat is our 32 segment sphere, so we're going to, crap, we had it selected as a group. So we're going to export it one more time just in case. We're going to select the cap of our hat and we are going to add a optimize modifier to it. And if you look at the polys, you can actually see them getting simplified. And we can't even tell. So we're actually saving FPS by doing this. And we are going to call this one lot 1. This is going to be the model that you see from a distance. So that is it. We are done modeling, and we are ready to compile.